insights, looking at the stakes and tactics with regards to the Cameroonian election coming up in October 2025. We know that now in Cameroon there is a lot of speculation, and there are a lot of tactics in place. There are a lot of personal interests that people are bringing on board, and I'm looking forward that towards the next 2 hours we'll have maybe we'll look into all of this, what the position of the Cameroonian people, how we stand to benefit from what is happening, do we have a chance or we don't have a chance, and so on and so forth. So I'm most happy to be with you guys this afternoon. Thank you very much.
And thank you for giving this moment a special consideration, because we care so much about the country Cameroon, and it is imperative to discuss what the stakes are for Cameroonians and how we can, of course, find lasting solutions that will benefit indeed, especially the very vulnerable Cameroonian. Thank you. Just to note that other guests will be joining us subsequently, and we are going to ride off to the analysis right after the jingle with you, Carlos. If you are just tuning in, this is Global Insight, your informative knowledge sharing program, a platform put together for insightful perspectives that will change the narratives and or probably change the course along the lines of political lines in Cameroon, and why not Africa and the world at large. We're going to go straight away with the conceptual analysis of our topic for today, which centers on political tactics overshadowing the true stakes of the nation. With you, Dr. NDIMANCHO, it is imperative for us to have a holistic understanding of the topic to situate millions of audiences or viewers out there.
Yes, it's good to put it in context. You talk about the tactics. There are a lot of issues when it concerns tactics, and it's not just positive. You may also look at a negative way of tactics. Well, of course, we know that politics is about tactics. Politics is also about diplomacy. Politics is also about getting it all, because like in politics that we play in Africa, we say the winner wins it all. That is it about politics, and that is why at the end of it all, there is never always that kind of, we say, a government of inclusion, because the winner always takes it all in Africa. They forget that even though the losers, I mean, they are supposed to be taken care of. I mean, when you win an election, you don't only rule those who voted for you, you rule everybody, even the losers, and therefore there's always need for that inclusion. And that is what we are deploring in Africa. And I must say, Clarisse, some people are just getting into this scene, with face to face with the election 2025 for their first time. I'm lucky to have been in the field, first as a civil society activist, and secondly as a concerned Cameroonian. You must have seen or heard, I think I engaged most of the political parties in Cameroon with a very, very prolific letter, seminal, which of course I wrote, and I titled it my open letter to opposition leaders. I did not just write a letter as others do.
Yes.
I engaged most of the frontline opposition leaders. I met with Mr. Joshua Osi. I met with the special advisor of Kamto. I met with Cabral Libi personally. I met with Akaremuna. I met with Serge Espoir Matumba. I met with Senior Barrister ACHU. I met with the newcomers, Apostle Ambe, and all of those newcomers, of course, who I believe they are coming to, I mean, is kind of raising a lot of, pomp in the political sphere. Even if they just announced, so they are announcing it was still very important, because that announcement also created some sensation. Absolutely. As far as this election is concerned. So we talk about the tactics, and I wanted to put the issue of tactics in perspective. From my meeting with them, now you realize I discovered that we have about 3 kind of opposition leaders. First, I will talk about in Cameroon we have the opposition of liberation theology. This is the first opposition we have in Cameroon. When party politics or multi-party politics started in the 1990s, with the SDF and the coalition and whatsoever, we had what we call a liberation opposition or liberation theology. In which case, when you listen to the SDF talk, they say Pobia must go. Pobia must go. Pobia must go. That was the opposition of a liberation theory. It means that what? Their main goal was just to get Pobia out of this. Yeah. And I went in my letter to criticize this, in as much as it was very important, because we were coming from a very, very difficult past. And many people actually describe that past as a part of dictatorship. You know, one party state is a form of dictatorship. So people thought that it was important for this liberation theology, for this cry, for this mantra, power to the people and equal opportunity, and all of those that the SDF came. And there is one thing that I criticized, which they lacked, was that they only had a liberation theology, they didn't have an ideology.
And that actually brings us to what we
exactly. We must come to this, because this is what it's all about, opposition, and this is all about politics. If you get into politics without an ideology, just know that you're not going anywhere. So the second opposition that I encountered in Cameroon is the opposition of opposition. Yeah, opposition are this kind of tactics that you say that there are a lot of party antennas, which are created not to take power, because you realize that a lot of parties in Cameroon which do not aim at the presidential palace, they're created for a motive, and therefore they just come up to create a sort of disorder. They are created for a purpose, and that is why at the end of this election, I mean, even before election, we are already seeing some parties gathering and say, we stand for the president of the republic, we stand for the CPDM, we stand for the president. We have seen the president of Pakona, we have seen a faction of UPC who are already positioning themselves. Yeah. We have seen even the MDR and all of other parties who already say they are. I saw the Jean Momo Padek. They were received by the Secretary General of the Presidency, I think this morning or yesterday. So you find that these are the opposition of opposition, means that what? They are out to oppose other opposition who have a genuine goal to the presidency, and they are created for a purpose. You see that these ones are framed for a purpose. Now you have what we call the opposition of proposition.
Okay. The
opposition of proposition. These are the kinds of opposition. They are not against taking power, but they are just there to be able to give their own opinion about the stakes in the country. They just want to let politics play itself, and you're going to actually be able to distinguish these from other set of opposition whom I call, I usually want to give them a foreign name, which I don't want to call. The opposition that are there, because what François Bayard in l'État en Afrique, la politique du vent calls opposition of la politique du vent, who are coming up because they want to eat. Yes, they come up because they want to eat, and they think that politics is what can give them money, and they just do that in order to gain visibility. Yes, once they gain the visibility, okay, they know that President Pobia is looking at it, they know that this is looking at it, know that this is looking at it. When they come for it, and there's a little upheavals and whatsoever, now they stand up and then they want to make a speech, and then they say that, okay, they know that they are going to call them behind the doors, and then they give them some little thing, and then they stay quiet. These are just guys who have come up for that matter. We have so many of them. Because when you look at the almost 300 parties in Cameroon that we have, and then you ask yourself, for what purpose are they? Because at the end of it all, you don't have up to 17 parties going for presidential election. And then many people are asking themselves, but for what purpose are they? I just want to let them know that these are the kind of opposition that we have in Cameroon, and that the opposition in Cameroon is very, very, it is distinct. It is not the same as we have in other countries. Sometimes I don't want to compare Cameroon with Nigeria. I don't want to compare Cameroon with Senegal. I don't want to compare Cameroon with some other country. Cameroon is just, as people call it, a continent. And it is just the continent that we see, because a lot of things are happening here in terms of politics. And now you see with issues of tribalism, ethnic politics that we play. In 2018, we are talking about the tactics that we use. In 2018, they used the tactics of disintegrating the tribes. And that is why you heard about the issue of Sadina and Tontina. That was a tactic to put the tribes head on. That's it. To put the tribes head on, and you find that instead of chasing what the goal, now they go on actually fighting among themselves.
I'm tempted to say that your preliminary statement has equally or actually answered our question if political tactics have actually overshadowed the true states of the nation. I'll come back to you subsequently, Dr. NDIMANCHO, for us to understand what actually the true states of the nations are and why it is essential for the upcoming elections to be, a pivotal one in every aspect across the national territory. And now we also get to perform JAVANS. At least you are a young Cameroonian and taking interest in the political affairs of your country and being a critical thinker and an entrepreneur. Just to note that some days ago we saw news across the national territory how the young people of the country have actually garnered support behind incumbent President Paul Biya, and we saw that an amount of about 40 million was raised to be able to ensure that his candidacy gets the validity. So in your own perspective, and given our topic for this day, let's try to contextualize it as a young Cameroonian. What is your perspective pertaining this topic and the present political fabric of the country, Cameroon?
Thank you very much, Clarisse. I think that's something that we should look at it with a lot of peculiarity. When the news of Cameroonian youth supporting the candidacy of Mr. Paul Biya with the sum of 40 million francs came out, I think the media brandish it that Cameroonian youth in general has maybe supported Mr. Paul Biya with 40 million francs. And taking a detailed look at it, I was hoping that maybe members of the opposition were going to do their work in the background, which of course is what we should be expecting from them, to tell us or to tell the Cameroonian people that these youths that actually delivered this support to the CPDM are CPDM elitist youths. These are people that actually have something to benefit from the current government. By so doing, they have to maybe raise something to protect their own personal interests and not the interests of the Cameroonian people. Because when you saw the video, among them I saw members of parliament, CPDM members of parliament. Among them I saw maybe high-ranking officials of the treasury. I saw people, members of commission appointed by the sitting president. So it was more of youths of a particular party supporting their candidacy of their own candidate. And the media decided to publish it or to make us understand that, okay, these are Cameroonian youth supporting them because they want to bridge an age gap. Let it not be like, okay, maybe a candidate that is above 90 is running and maybe the youths are not there. So the CPDM is using this as a political tactic, which of course overshadow the interests of the people, to make us understand that it is not a matter of age, it is actually a matter of the right candidate. Because when you listen to the youth, they will tell you, or to the set youths that represented the Cameroonian youth, they will make you to understand that this was an issue of them supporting a candidate that maybe prioritized national unity and so on. They never told us that these youths maybe are youths that occupy political positions or youths that have benefited from the largesse of appointment of the head of state. So I think that once the CPDM or any party is actually portraying their strategy to conserve or to maybe garner victory, the opposition should actually be doing so much work also to make the Cameroonian people understand why the information that is going out is not a generality but a specificity to a particular party. Unfortunately, when this news went out, I waited for 24 hours, 48 hours. I'm not seeing any member of the opposition coming out to say that, okay, these youths, they are saying that a Cameroonian youth does not actually represent or act on behalf of the Cameroonian youth. Rather, they act on behalf of the YCPDM or of the youths of the CPDM party. So in as much as there is a party putting on tactics, I think that the opposition, just as Dr. Mike said, has a high role to play as far as tactics concerning a change in bringing about a change in Cameroon is concerned. For now, I believe that multiple oppositions are weak. They are just hoping that a magic or a miraculous thing can happen for them to gain power, which of course I don't think it can happen like that. As far as the opposition is hoping that they have something to offer to the Cameroonian people, they should understand that something can be offered to the Cameroonian people if and only if they get the power. Because we cannot even be thinking that there is a probability or a possibility for a government of national unity to be created after the CPDM wins another election. It's almost impossible. So the opposition should know that they should be working on serious strategy that can transfer their messages to Cameroonians and can maybe debunk some of the things that the media sells to us or the CPDM sells to the Cameroonian people, so that the Cameroonian people can be conscious. Right now, nearly everybody knows that, okay, Cameroonian youth supported the candidacy of Mr. Biya. But when I ask, where is the list? Can we have the list? The list should be there. It's the work of the opposition to get us the list, publish the list, to be like, okay, this person holds this particular position, this person is a CPDM parliamentarian, this person is a member of this committee appointed by the sitting president, so that it should not be a generalization. There is nothing wrong with members of a party supporting their candidate, but there is everything wrong with members of a party supporting their candidate and they brandish it on behalf of everybody. It doesn't make sense at all. And it is a tactic that will work for those that are preparing it like that. It is a well-calculated strategy to position or to cage the mind of the people to believe that there is nothing for us to be advocating for, because the youths that we feel that are supposed to be leading are solidly behind this particular candidate and are using their finances and their resources to support this candidate. So why should we be fighting for youths that don't want to fight for themselves, youths that don't aspire for change? So I think that there should be maybe a radicalization of information as far as the opposition camp is concerned. Nothing wrong with youths to support a particular candidate, but everything wrong for a youth or a group of youths to support a candidate and it is brandished as Cameroonian youths, because Cameroon has more millions of youths and we have just about 10, 20, 30 that showed out themselves to support a specific candidate, and now we believe that generally Cameroonian youth contributed money to support a specific candidate. It doesn't make sense.
Thank you so much for that, Pofong. JAVANS, of course, we are talking about tactics, and just to reiterate to our millions of viewers out there that this program aims to bring about the exchange of knowledge, perspectives that will bring a common ground towards ensuring that Cameroon in totality navigates this very crucial moment with some objectivity and probably vision to ensure practical change for the nation Cameroon, and actually not to incite in anywhere. Critically talking about the tactics, I think what JAVANS just presented now, Dr. NDIMANCHO, is another aspect of the framing issue, which political maneuvering will always bring about some sort of perspectives to change how the society or people react at the moment pertaining the events or marking the political scene at the time. But then we want to understand how this has already overshadowed the true national stakes of the country. So what are those national stakes which are quite important for Cameroon, and which you think that should be what should occupy the political fabric of the country, and not probably who has to take power or who has probably has to go?
Yeah, I understand very much with Mr. JAVANS from his perspective, which is very, very engaging. And I think he's put it in context and in perspective. Yeah. I think that what every country needs first is the national identity.
Absolutely.
Let people not fool themselves. Any country that needs to grow must have a national identity. We have time to talk about this. And you realize that when there is no national identity, the issue of unity is a farce. I see in Cameroon there is a day for national unity. like I was talking in the sister TV on that 20th of May, I raised a lot of rhetorical questions and I asked myself, can there be national unity in economic crisis, on education, lack of basic needs for education? Can there be national unity in poor road infrastructure? A lot of things comes into perspective. Can there be national unity if some regions are at war? They cannot be. And you see that all of these things, they pipe down to what we call a national identity. Because when there is no national identity, another person will always be l'ennemi dans la maison. And when you are living in a situation where people are so careful about each and every other person, there is always this fear. And therefore, there is always this exclusion that we have in Cameroon today. And that is why when we tailor it down to the politics that we have today, you realize that. And I told you, I went around, I engaged. And one of the reasons some leading opposition parties or leaders told me was that they are very careful that what happened in the past shouldn't happen again. And what happened was that they thought, or according to them, there are some of them who are sellouts because they do not believe in them. And that is why when they come for issue of a coalition, before long, you find it is shattered. Either there is what they call sellouts or blacklists among them, which they are afraid of, or there is that care of people thinking that power shouldn't go to the Anglophones, power shouldn't go to the Bamilekes, power shouldn't go to the Northeast, power shouldn't remain with the Yaoundé people. So you find that when you look at all of these cross purposes in terms of interplay of politics, which is supposed to unite and not divide, then you understand that we need what we call the national identity. And this cuts across, other continents. You live here, go abroad, go to the United States of America, what you see is the meeting of, these groupings, this tribe, that tribe, that tribe. It is hard to go abroad and hear about the Cameroonian meeting. You hear about the meeting of different tribes. The None people are here, the Banso people are there, the Bamileke people are there, the Wondos are there. And this is the brainchild of what is happening in Cameroon. That you do not see people who join together and do something. Either you call somebody or you call somebody Mutong, that is the thing, and that is the tone that politics has taken in Cameroon. And when we talk about the tactics now, you find that political parties, especially the leading party, uses these tactics in order to disintegrate, in order to take power. This is what happened, because the best way to rule is to create, that is it, to create tension, put people at daggers drawn, put people at cross purposes, stay storms in the teacup, and when people go fighting. And we have always, you are a Pan-African journalist, and we have, one of the things that we decry is the way when Europe came to Africa, one of the things they did was to put Africans at loggerheads. Sure. Because it is when people are loggerheads that the agenda is well fully exploited without any adversity.
Absolutely.
That is what happens. And that is why there is a Nigerian proverb which says that you don't go chasing rats when your house is on fire. You find that most politicians in Cameroon now, they are chasing rats. And now they are leaving the focus and now cheating over to other things. That is why during this period, you realize that instead of the opposition thinking about how they can come together, there were insults among the opposition leaders.
And that becomes very problematic.
Very problematic.
You attempted to ask if actually the nation, probably the future of the nation is what is pushing them to be at the helm.
No, it's political tactic. It is political tactics that it's being used upon them.
Then
and
we shouldn't blame the ruling party.
You cannot blame them. Let me tell you, whoever is blaming them is at fault. I don't blame the ruling party. Nobody takes power to relinquish it.
Absolutely.
Everybody takes power to, to preserve.
Sure.
Everyone takes power to preserve. Even in the highest democracy in the world, you are leaving power and regretting.
Absolutely.
That is what is happening. And therefore, those who go saying that the ruling party has done the point is that the blame lies on us, we who are easily fooled. Because if you know that this is what is right for you to do, and you know that this is even the electorate, why are we only blaming the ruling party?
We were actually going to come to
that. Is the thing. Blame the electorate too. Those who go and take, mega 2,000 francs or bags of rice or cubes of savon, and they do. For the next 7 years, they know that they're not going to have anything. Why only blame the ruling party? Who forces you to do that? Who forces you to go and vote for this person? Yeah. I think that all of us carry the blame. And those are the tactics that every other party uses when they are in power in order to consolidate their power. Nobody wants to rule opposed. Absolutely. Everybody wants to rule unopposed. And therefore they use all the tactics. Only fools fixed in their folly will remain under. There is the story, an anecdote of a person who catches a fowl, uproots it of his feathers, and and then render his merciful, miserable, throws it down, and then takes corn, threw to the fowl, and then the fowl eats the corn because it's desperate, turns up and tells you thank you, because it is desperate. When you are in a desperate situation, it is a time to impose. It is a time for you to think about tomorrow. It's like a monkey in a cage, and he has a key to the cage and he has banana.
Okay, Dr.
What happened? He goes to the banana instead of a key that leads to freedom. And that is who we are. So I think we really need to put these things, and it needs a lot of education and it needs a lot of sacrifice too.
And that is why Global Insight is here to actually call Cameroonians into thinking about, when we talk about being patriotic, it's for us to understand the true stakes of the country, what can be done to ensure that the diversity of Cameroon is seen from the positive perspective, because I think diversity is a good fabric that will put people out there. And to continue in the same light with you, MBOFUNG JAVANS, when Dr. NDIMANCHO was talking, he quite highlighted the fact, of course, we took the trajectory of Pan-Africanism, understanding what needs to be done to ensure that Africa has its own position that it deserves, because of the continent is endowed in both natural and human capital. And we are today looking at a particular case, which is Cameroon, and we know of the vibrant young population. We also want to, the question I'm directing to you, want to take reference to probably some sort of a politics in, let's take Russia as a case. According to some pundits, even if Vladimir Putin is not there tomorrow, Russians understand what is vital, what is crucial for their country. It's about securing security lines. It's about ensuring the total sovereignty of their country, that an individual living power will not derail the focus of Russians. So then, let's try to see how probably we can bring in such a clear ideology that will change the perspective or the mindset of Cameroonians towards identifying what Cameroon needs, that should maybe a different president comes into power, they should have a common agenda to ensure that Cameroon speaks of sovereignty in all totality, in all spheres. What perspectives can you give to this in relation to some of the global politics and the examples you know?
The first thing I want us to look at, or I want to talk about, is the idea of education. You know that sustainable practices can easily sink in the mind of the people if they receive the effective education necessary to keep it in their mind. We always say that we can stop, we can never change an idea. Once an idea has been planted in the mind of the people, it stays there forever. So in Cameroon, if we must copy from other economies that have a uniform policy, the leadership of continuity, we must be effective in the type of education, with the type of education we give to the Cameroonian people as far as leadership is concerned. When Doc was speaking within his first intervention, he talks about belly politicians. You know, in Cameroon, it is almost impossible for such leadership structure to be in place now, because everybody has a personal interest that overrides or supersedes the interest of the state. If to say that we identify what Cameroon needs: industrialization, the infrastructural development, peace and stability, and we take it as a measure concept or as a priority for the country, we understand that each and every person that is taking power prioritize this up to the level that even a young child who has not even gotten to the voting age understands that this is what my country is focused on, this is what is driving us. Then we can have that policy of continuity. Right now, as far as leadership also is concerned in Cameroon, everybody has his or her own agenda, which explains why when you listen to every candidate, they have maybe their own form of government they believe that will work out well. Each candidate has his own form of governance that he believes that will work out well. Why some talks about a unitary system, some talks about 10-state federation. Everybody has a different perspective. So right now, we don't even have a definitive part where we are going to. And when we look at such, we don't even want to focus so much at the person who is at the center. We look now at the responsibility of our key elected officials. One of the biggest problems Cameroonians have, or we as a nation have, is that we Cameroonians don't even know the responsibility of our elected officials. We don't know what we are voting who to do for us. We just wish that, okay, let's just cast our vote, and the person that we love, maybe because the person speaks the same language with us, or maybe the person is from the same village with us, or maybe the person has something to offer to us, we should vote for the person to take over. So our education has been so weak in a way that as far as leadership is concerned, we are looking first at our interests, not the interests of the nation. If to say that we have or we raise the standard of leadership education in such a way that the interests of Cameroon supersedes our own personal interests, then we can then have that governance of continuity, which we know that irrespective of who is in power, the interests of Cameroon will always be put in place, and not the interest of an individual. Because in as much as we keep on having leaders that have personal interests or believe that their own ideas are the most uniform or are the best ideas to transform Cameroon, then Cameroon will always be around a circle. We keep on moving around the same circle. We are not going ahead. We vote somebody into another person coming tomorrow with the idea of changing it, and that even becomes so much difficult for us to effectively select somebody. Sometimes when you listen to Cameroonians, especially young people like me speaking, they are like, they believe this person is not good, they believe that person is better. Everybody has a specific thing that they love in a candidate, and when you look critically clear, nobody really knows what is good for Cameroon at present. That is why we have diverse views. Some you believe that your candidate is the best person that maybe will take us to where we are. Somebody believes that, okay, if maybe this person wins, you can be appointed, you can gain contracts, you can get into businesses, or your specific sector may be elevated and you start benefiting from some specific rights as a citizen, which is not supposed to be the case. So we need to look at leadership education. Let it be. It's something Cameroon must do if we must advance, and if we must have a governance system that is sustainable. If not, after every year we will be talking about same points. We are not advancing. Years goes by, and the only thing we will be looking at that is our heritage, is the peace, which when we look critically, it exists partially. We'll be looking at the unity. If we look critically, maybe some people will even term it unity in fear, as some people say. So we should actually look at the possibility of what we want to prioritize. And that is simple. Through our educational process, we change our mind, our mentalities. So we will definitely, if we do that, we'll definitely have that government of continuity, and we will not have most of these problems back and forth.
And I think the media has a vital role to play. Cameroon media to ensure this education we're talking can be formal and informal, and I think the media with its capacity can help to change the discourses, especially along political lines across the African continent or across the national territory of Cameroon. Dr. NDIMANCHO, we're looking at how the present political fabric or the rhetorical politics in Cameroon has helped to kill the civic engagement of Cameroonians that has led us to the position where we are, an opposition that seems not to be probably united for a common cause. It's just this year that probably you saw the engagement, civil society and other people pushing, particularly the young people, to go and register so that in October they are going to cast their ballots. But then, is that for the benefit of Cameroon? Here we are talking about the nation Cameroon and not individuals.
Yeah, of course. I think that there's also an end to anything. Whatever you pay, there's always a time for suppress. When that kind of suppressed emotion, you think you should really just explode and get things out of you. No matter how long you bear certain things or you keep certain things, or you are nonchalant to certain things, there must be a time that you develop interest because you see the need for it.
Absolutely.
You see, Cameroonians have been like zombies for so long a time, and because there are a lot of blames from every corners. One of the blames that sometimes I talk about as a Pan-Africanist is that we blame so much part of the church about what is happening, in Cameroon, especially because you would say about it, and somebody will say, well, we leave it, God will take care. I say in politics, God doesn't take care. We take care. You take care in politics. God doesn't take care. God wouldn't give you on a platter of gold. You do that, you take it. And that is the issue of just leave it. He will die one day. He will die one day. Or that this will end one day. Is that issue that keeps us being locked up and being, referred to as zombies. Zombification of politics, of the electorate. We need to reassert, and that is why when you look at Cameroon,
yes,
you ask yourself, what has happened this year? Because I remember that during 2018,
yeah,
we also came out as civil society. We encouraged people to go out and register. And people were still this nonchalant attitude. Now, let me tell you.
Not as what we noticed.
Let me tell you. Yeah. People have waited for so long and they have realized that they are merely waiting for Godot. Waiting for someone who no one can see. That their God will take care is not forthcoming. And people have now realized that they are supposed to assert.
Engage,
this is what is happening. Because nothing has really changed this 2018. It's just for the fact that people have waited for so long and nothing is forthcoming. People even thought that this year the President of the Republic will not present his candidacy. But he has. And you see that people have now understood that they need to be proactive. They need to be proactive. Rhetorics in politics, actually, it's what is welcome. I don't even see rhetorics in politics as a bad thing because political parties, they can only express themselves, their manifestos through rhetorics. That is the thing. I don't see as a bad thing.
To see the intentionality, of course, the rhetorics get towards ensuring a better Cameroon for Cameroon.
You see, there is a difference between distraction and then presenting, manifestos.
Absolutely.
Because when people are distracted, even in church, Christian, your pastor who is distracted in church, who is just talking about issues that do not concern the Bible. And if a politician comes to the people, we know what a politician is supposed to do concretely. And that is why I told on Sister TV the other day, I said, this is the time for reckoning.
Yeah.
This is the time for giving accounts. Politicians who speak with determined lines and with determined, evaluations, and that when you spoke since 2018 up to now, what the electorate should be asking is, this thing that you came in during this year, in 2020 and told us, in 2022 you told us, last year 2023 you told us, we haven't seen it. So, you know that exactly those people are distracting. When you see a politician who is getting old and only hanging on the thing, And there's nothing to shoot proof of. You see politicians in Cameroon who are only having twisted faces. And then you ask yourself, are these really politicians who want to work for the youth? Because the population of Cameroon is about 70% youth. And you know that the world is changing today due to the aspiration of the youth, due to the zest of the youth, due to the zeal of the youth. That is what changes from one application to another. And that's what motivates for innovation, renovation, and all of this is because of the aspiration of the youth. What we use today as technological tool, we may not use that again next month or next year. And therefore, we cannot have a youth as a majority population. And then people see, and Cameroonian youths are very educated. That's one thing that you know. Cameroonian youths are very, very educated. When we look at Africa, Cameroon is among the youths that are educated in Africa. And then you ask yourself, we who go for conference, people mock at us, and they say, but you are talking here and you have your own this, that in your country who are almost barely surviving. What is happening with you?
And that is where we want to find the solution.
The solution is simple. We know the solution. And the solution has started coming this year. We have never had up to 8 million registered voters. Even the 6 million that sometimes we strike as registered voters, only about 3.5 highest go to the polls and vote. We are saying that this year and this time, people have seen the need to go to register and increase above 2 million to the number. We also want to see an increased registered voters go to the polls, vote, defend their vote, and stand there and say that, okay, we needed this change. We have voted. Yes. Let me tell you, it is easy to cheat somebody who has just 2,000 francs. But it's very difficult to cheat somebody who has 1 million francs. This is what, and that issue of saying that what has happened, what happened in the past, what are we, it is, that is all type politics. You should, in politics, you always believe that the more you put in, the more you will get. The more you put in, and the problem with Cameroonian politics too is that we wait for the last minute. I told the opposition party this issue, that you don't wait for the last minute to start touching people here and there, touching people here and there. You realize that the last 6 months, yes, have been very, very, what the Fremen call momenté. It has been a period of a lot of zeal in politicians who are now struggling to meet up with the electorate. This one going here, report. I know anyway, TV stations are eating well from them now. But I think that this is not the last minute time that you have to go. Election campaigns are throughout the 7 years that we have in Cameroon.
Absolutely. People
will tell you that you have election time. Yes, you have active election time. There is what we call the passive election campaign time, whereby you do certain things not because you are campaigning directly for election, but you do because you are waiting that when that time comes, people will only live and remember what you did and vote for you. They will not need you to tell you that come and vote for me because I have this manifesto. Your manifesto was already lived on the ground. Sure. And this is what, as you are asking about, how we can get there. These are just the simple tactics that we can get there. Any politician who is a grassroots politician who knows, the people who always vote for, or the people who always regard that this is a politician of the grassroots. There are some politicians who are only known by your family members. And when they even organize rallies, you don't even see all the family members there. There are some politicians, even when we say we have tribal politics, whom their own villages do not know them. Why? Politics is about grassroots. If you do politics, elitist politics, just know that you keep on doing that kind of politics whereby you keep on hanging on this or wanting that politics of the stomach. And that is why Cameroonians have to know that there is beauty in politics. Look at the politics in Nigeria with the obese and the rest. The election is 2027, but they have already started going for coalition. They have started a campaign. Look at Kenya. Kenya is in 2026, but Kenya, they started campaigns 2 years ago, and I lived their political scene. Absolutely. These are people who know what politics is all about, and who know that it is not like in Cameroon where people think that you just bring your chicken chain and then you follow a Cameroonian, because Cameroonians are living in misery, and which of course, misery is one of the tactics of politics. Yes, misery is one of the tactics of politics. That you keep people poor, so that when you come and even offer them the small thing, they take and they thank you.
Sorry to interject, Dr. DiMancho. One last, I want us to probably sometimes we talk about what we see, but there are certain things we do not see. A whole lot of people are pointing at the incumbent, pointing his age. We also know that there are, vibrant. Let me just say we have people who are aspiring for the upcoming elections, who, according to some pundits, they are not young. Now we want to look at how probably people who feel like if there is probably a critical change across the Cameroon, their positions, their serve or probably personal agendas will actually be affected, and so by so doing, the probably beneath or probably out of the eyes of the public, bring forth these tactics that will hijack the right trajectory or political trajectory of the country for their personal gains. Because for sure, if tomorrow President Paul Biya is no longer the president of Cameroon, another person comes. We know the major changes or shakeups that will happen at every level. So we still have this group of people probably conversing to ensure that this political party stays, probably holds probably at the parliamentary level, at every level, to ensure that their own agenda is protected. How can we navigate such obscurity in the country Cameroon to ensure that come October 2025, we are going to ride a new era for Cameroon at every level?
Well, it is possible. As I said, every political party longs to stay in power on and on and on again, and
sure,
they come with their agenda to stay on in power. And therefore, there is no way in which we can say that a party, except like Barack Obama said, that in Africa we rather have strong people and not strong institutions,
yeah,
which is supposed to be the reverse. Yes, strong institutions should be able to pave the path for what we are just saying. Because if we do not have the strong institutions, then we will never get to where you are talking about. You know, the institutions, when I talk about institutions, the first thing I talk about is the constitution.
Absolutely.
How is the constitution respected in Cameroon or in other countries which are having dictatorships? I think that one of the things that we need to ensure, and that Cameroonians need to ensure, is the respect for that constitution. You know, people have their agenda, and you even see that those who surround you are even those, like we say, power drunkens and absolute power drunkens absolutely. And it is true. If we have a framework like the constitution that enables a leader to know that after 2 mandates, you are no more there. Let me tell you, and that institution, that framework is resolute, let me tell you, the country will be fixed. Everybody knows how to fix a country. We have known how, in Cameroon, for example, we have had areas, especially during with this government, where issues of corruption has been ripe. And we know those areas. Look at the Can Gate. Look at the COVID Gate. Look at all of those things. All of us know. Look at the road infrastructure and all of those. Where, I mean, even the minister said it, that you of the president's region, you are now condemning this, I'm doing this, and Minister of Public Works, you are the one who comes and tell me, when a kilometer of road is being given for maybe 1 billion, you ask you to put 2 billion. And you are the one corrupting. And then you come now to blame me for this and that. So this is what is happening. And that is why I said that we need visionaries. Elections to be built on those who have done things for this country. See, there is a way of screening candidates. And a bad candidate in politics can never really tend to be a good candidate. We have had candidates here that I'm just asking myself and I'm watching. Well, I'm not advising anybody to vote any other person. But I'm saying that people should use their consciences. Absolutely. There are candidates that you see that have not helped Cameroon at all. Candidates you know that they have betrayed Cameroonians in the past. And then you stand again. And then you come like maybe you want to play Pontius Pilate or want to play what, and then you want to lure Cameroonians to do the same mistake that was done in the past. Let me tell you, every mistake in politics should be considered, and it's very important to be considered. It's very important. There is no repentance in politics. There is none. Because we usually say that politics is a game of interest. Politics is a game of interest, and you can, and I don't see those who will leave their interest. Even Donald Trump in the United States of America now is trying to go in for another mandate, which is against him. He even announced, and he has an American constitution say he cannot be a president for 2 mandates renewable again. And he already, because the power is too sweet, now he wants to rule the country as if it is his personal property. You see that is because power is very sweet. And therefore, when I made a mention of the fact that Cameroon is majority youth, it is because I understand that youth know the problems of the world of today more than any other person.
Absolutely.
Look at other countries where they are ruled by youth. People are admiring them. And everybody is like asking, how does this happen? But let me tell you that it can really happen. And it should happen in Cameroon. Cameroon is not an island. We are, I mean, look at the country that was regarded as an island, I mean, a peace kind of an island, a turbulence sub-region. But now we have become a laughing stock of people. Why? I personally do not have an issue about somebody's longevity in power.
It's not about
I have a problem about governance. This is what I have, and I've always talked about it. If you like, stay in power for 200 years. But what I'm talking about, I like to talk about is governance. When you stay in power the way you say, because change is not just for his sake, even though change is very important, but sometimes it's not just for his sake. If he comes, fine. If he doesn't come and this person is trying to deliver, well, do you have to change something just because you want to change? But then, if we are crying foul, it is because we have realized that, like Rosa Parks in the United States of America in 1962, we have borne so much for so long a time.
Yeah.
This is just the issue, and that it is time that black consciousness take its root, like Steve Biko in South Africa and all of the other people who rose up against apartheid. It is like we are on our own apartheid now in Cameroon, and therefore we have to rise up like Steve Biko. We have to rise up like the black consciousness taught, and tell the people that no, it is time that we also come out from that cage where we have actually been sealed. And it is enough time. Cameroon is a beautiful country, a country with fertile soil, arid land. Cameroon is a beautiful country. I mean, what do we lack in Cameroon? But then, can you imagine that at this very moment, having a meal a day in Cameroon is like seeing the tears of a lion.
And that is why we continue to explore, discourse, and exchange views on how we can bring change. When we look at Ethiopia today, we can begin to imagine that when you are intentional, there is always, a solution to whatever the
Clarisse, I will interject, please, just for a second. You call Ethiopia, and there is something that strikes me about Ethiopia every time.
Yes.
You know about Ethiopian Airline?
Yes.
Many people do not know the history of Ethiopian Airline. Ethiopian Airline was founded by Haile Selassie.
Absolutely.
Why? Because Addis Ababa was the center of the African Union.
Sure.
And Haile Selassie said, I cannot allow the African president to be boarding other flights to come to Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. Let me come out with this airline so that it can facilitate the transportation of African president. Look at, he is a visionary. Look at where Ethiopian Airline is. It is the best airline in Africa, and it has winning the awards without any publicity for them. We are talking Pan-Africanism.
It is Pan-Africanism, it is intentionality, and that is why we always say that to be able to accomplish all of these, we need a strong political will, we need an intentional leadership that will deliver and of course make Cameroon that Eldorado. It is Africa in miniature. And in the same perspective with you, BOUQUET JAVANS, we want to look at, probably relate Cameroon with the Republic of South Africa. The last elections in South Africa was somehow, contentious in the sense that they actually follow a parliamentary system, and we noticed that the ANC did not win an absolute majority, and there was need for a coalition. We saw that Ramaphosa formed a coalition with the Democratic Alliance to be able to maintain power in the country. Coming back to Cameroon, we have a secret ballot where citizens cast their votes through universal suffrage, and let's try to compare the existing political system. We know the parliament majority, the CPDM, and we know that the opposition is timidly represented, and we actually again know the stakes. So, with the present status quo of the political sphere of Cameroon, and looking at the way forward on how we can probably use these elections to be a litmus test for true change across the national territory, what proposal do you give as a vibrant Cameroonian youth who is very engaged in the political sphere and wanting to see that there is change in the country can actually adopt? It's a subtle process, we know, to ensure that there is that end results which will make us to probably to tomorrow use Cameroon as an example. In 2025, Cameroonian politicians or the person that conquered the elections said this, and we are seeing it being materialized. There are a whole lot of examples. So what perspective can we give pertaining this particular point?
Clara, in the past 6 months, I've been in close to about 40 of the 58 divisions in Cameroon, and I've probably interacted with people that lives in these regions, and I noticed that every young Cameroonian up there has just one objective, if to say that there was a coalition. If there was a coalition, so everybody is expecting or hoping that all the numerous candidates that we have actually, or maybe create an alliance. Talking about the situation of South Africa, a few months ago, I was listening to Joshua Osito. He said an alliance is formed after an election. And I think he was talking about the situation of South Africa, where the ANC form an alliance to get the majority needed to maybe to share and then have a government of coalition, something like that. But normally in the case of Cameroon, an alliance or a coalition is needed to be formed before the election. Why? We don't have the parliamentary system of choosing a president in Cameroon. An election, as you rightly said, is through the secret ballot, where every citizen goes behind the ballot, select his or her own leader. So in the situation that we find ourselves in, if we must actually, maybe our objective is not a must, actually our objective is to ensure that if there need to be a change, our votes or the votes of the Cameroonian people should be tilted towards a specific candidate. We should not separate our numerous votes. Recently in Cameroon, we know that right from maybe 1997, there had been a coalition between the CPDM, the UNDP, which later on splitted, and then we had the UNDP and the FSCN. So now, this coalition has been in place since 1997 till the day that it broke. But what happened as soon as the coalition maybe was almost break, we have noticed that some members of the FSCN has already splitted, and right now as we are speaking, they have their own political parties that are also coming out to back the CPDM, which shows that the CPDM is actually not giving up. So if to say that we want something that can transform Cameroon, there should be that possibility of a coalition of opposition leaders before the election. They should come together, they should actually present a candidate that will talk to the Cameroonian people about the Cameroonian agenda, not the agenda of the specific candidate. So they should be able to harmonize their ideas. If you look across all the political leaders that are declaring to run for presidency, there is something common about them. All of them are talking about the form of state or the form of governance, the system of governance. If they can be able to maybe harmonize it, design one that they know that reflects the mind of the Cameroonian people, they present it on the table. And then let one person, or they elect one person among them to carry that vision that represents the Cameroonian people to compete against the incumbent. We will have more weight and we will have more hopes. But if it comes to the level that we feel that maybe after the election, there will then a coalition will be formed, it will be useless, it will be needless, because after election you will not say that, okay, maybe you are taking your votes somebody who have failed to give to the second position so that they should maybe combine them to see what can happen. It doesn't happen that way in Cameroon, which is why it even makes me feel that maybe some of these political leaders don't even know the country they want to govern. They don't even understand the systems of the very country they are applying to govern. if to say that we want to see an impactful change, this is the right time for them to enter into consultation. And if to say that these political leaders are going to go into consultation thinking of the Cameroonian people, they must first of all forget about their own selves. They must first of all ignore their personal interests. It should not be like, I'm willing to go in for a coalition provided I'm the leader. I'm willing to form a coalition to maybe fight the incumbent provided it's my own party that is leading. That doesn't work like that. Yesterday I was having an interaction with some youths on Facebook where some were saying, oh, they believe that this is the perfect person to lead a coalition, this is the perfect person to lead a coalition. My point was simple and clear. If there must be a coalition to bring about a change or to fight the incumbent, you must not carry on the mentality that your leader or your choice of candidate must be the person to lead the coalition, because that is the very first crack we will have if to say that a coalition is to come in place. Go with open minds, be free, let the people decide, let the people see the candidate that his ideas will resonate, his mode of communication, his system in place will maybe cover a large portion of the country. Because when we are talking about the election, we are not only looking at the person that have the resources, no, we are looking at the person that have the capability to go into the hinterlands. We should not only look at the people that feel like, okay, maybe if they cover Douala, they cover Bamenda, they cover Yaoundé, it works. No, we look at people that have the capability, they are fragile, they are agile enough to go right into the deep ends of Cameroon, to talk to the people, to convince the people, to see reasons why there needs to be a change. That is the only time that we will even feel that there is something like an election competition in Cameroon. Because right now we are speaking, there is a fact we cannot argue. The ruling CPDM is the only party that has the capacity to dive right into the hinterlands, which the opposition, if they must compete with the CPDM, they should also be ready to dive right into those areas where they think that it is impossible to get there. That is the only way that we can maybe have a change. Without said and done, we should not be expecting a coalition like the case of South Africa, because our systems of governance and the systems that are organizing these elections are completely different. We don't have a parliamentary system that we say that, okay, we are going to vote for our representatives, they go into parliament, and maybe we start creating coalitions. You have 10 seats, I have 50, let's bring them together to see how we can form a majority, and maybe we select a leader. It cannot work that way. The coalition must be now. We should not wait till we start regretting. The same thing that is happening now, it happened in 2018 when Cameroonians were going to the vote. Opposition leaders were adamant to create a coalition, and finally we waited for 7 years. We are still at the same point. If to say we don't take concrete actions now, we'll wait again till 2032. And the worst thing is that most of these opposition leaders have been expecting or hoping that the incumbent would declare that he will not run. Then I ask myself, did you people read the Constitution? If you read and understood the Constitution, you don't go into an election with hopes. You don't go to an election. It is a pure competition that you need to give your opponent first all the cards, and you see how to alter the cards to favor you. You don't wait for your opponent and hope, with the hopes that your opponent will get up one day and tell you that, oh, I might not run. I think that this is as far as power tussle is concerned, conscience at times is completely dead. And I noticed that most of our political leaders have been hoping on conscience. But conscience is not applicable in this situation. Now that the incumbent has declared, and we know that many Cameroonians are yearning for a change, let the opposition do what is right. They should help the Cameroonian people so that the Cameroonian people can in turn help them.
That many Cameroonians are yearning for change. So this change can still come from the CPDM, of course, and you quite mentioned as well, like many of the opposition leaders, or probably, let's say, politicians in Cameroon do not really understand the agenda of Cameroon. Let us have more clarity on that, what Cameroon's agenda is, and probably if the party that we have, the incumbent party, can still bring that change that we need today? If not, what's the way forward? You just highlighted the loopholes or the lapses of the opposition. So where does the solution lie?
The first thing is that Cameroon, of course, have a progressive agenda because we are, first of all, a third world country. We need to advance, we need to industrialize, we need to fight unemployment. So generally, Cameroonians are yearning for underemployment to be cut short and employment increase. We are yearning to have a system that is productive. We are yearning for a productive economy. We are yearning for a system that reflects the reality of our days, of our day-to-day life, hoping to transform us, to maybe advance to a stage whereby poverty wouldn't be a threat to us again. We are yearning for a system that people will be comfortable with the earnings they receive from their day-to-day salaries. And then to know if it can come from the incumbent or if it needs to come from the opposition is quite a tactical question, because right now the incumbent government has been in power for 43 years, and a majority of Cameroonians believe that the incumbent government has maybe shown that degree of unwillingness to properly address their issues. So right now, it is possible that the incumbent might be coming in with this mentality that since we have not maybe rendered, I even saw the post, one post that the head of state made on his Facebook page, assuring Cameroonians that he knows that it has not been easy, but he's willing to work with Cameroonians to make sure that maybe it becomes better, which shows that he himself acknowledged the fact that there have been some gaps and he is ready to maybe correct. So whether he is the right person to correct them now or not, it is the decision of the Cameroonian people to select him. If to say that his message resonates right with the Cameroonian people and the majority of the Cameroonian people selects him, so be it. If to say that the opposition believes that they are in the better place, which many of Cameroonians believe that they are in the better place to do, they should sell a right message. This thing is like one of our ancient politicians once said, or not ancient, said, you scratch my back and scratch your own. Let the opposition scratch the backs of the Cameroonian people. Let us also scratch their own backs. And the only way they can do that is for them to be able to maybe share with us a message that resonates with us and maybe form a platform that brings the people together.
Indeed, a message that resonates with the agenda of the country, a message that resonates in the politics of the country. Not to go back to what some Dr. NDIMANCHO, we always ask the question if it is probably the politics in Africa or probably Cameroon is largely a competitive politics where the person that comes wants just to challenge the predecessor, that you abandon the project that your predecessor has been working on to start a fresh new project, and at the end you see the susceptibility of the country's taste. And that is where I would love us to understand again the politics in Cameroon, which I think is a major problem, that if we understand the loopholes of the internal politics in Cameroon, it will help to position the electorates and every other person across the country towards the new dawn for the country.
Yeah, you see, there is a mission which I usually call the moral or Christian mission of the opposition.
Yeah.
Is like to be the eye opener of the government. It is very important. That is actually a major role of the opposition, and that is why there is a president that ruled Africa in a country called Tanzania, and where an adjective was coined about the Magufulization of politics. And you see that in that country, it reached as a stage where politicians didn't have work any longer to do, because they barely lack what to talk about. They barely lack what to criticize. This is what politics is all about, and this is what the ruling government works to preempt. The opposition and the civil societies have a lot of work in a country when the government is inactive, when the government has loopholes, when the government promises fail, when there is poverty, when there is underdevelopment, when there is poor health care, when there is no lack of education, when there is lack of basic communities, when there is corruption, now you find that the opposition and the civil society, they have a lot of work to do. And therefore, that is why you realize that most people, like politicians, and of course, politicians who take power are not supposed to denigrate. Sometimes you denigrate when you are still to take. And when you take power, it is for you to mend ranks.
Absolutely.
And this is what is because we are doing the tribal or any politics in Africa, that you find that presidents come from regions or come from tribes, and that when this tribe takes power, he wants to compare with the other tribe. And that is why I will have my good friend Patrice Lumumba, who say that when you went to Tanzania, you didn't know from which tribe came John Magufuli.
Yeah.
And that if you came to Cameroon, you know that Pobia is Betty. And that if you go to maybe Nigeria, you know that this man Tinubu is Yoruba. And that if you go to here, you see that this president is this.
Yeah.
And when you have this sectorial kind of interplay of politics, where you can be able to pinpoint and actually spot, and then your radar is able to catch on where somebody's birthplace is, then this politics begin to play itself, and you find that it shatters, it doesn't build.
Absolutely.
It destroys, it doesn't construct. Because when you take over power now, it is like a musician in Cameroon, Donny Awood, which I like to sing very much. Ma vie a changé. It is because some your close relative has taken power. And you say that formerly it was that person eating. Now my own brother has taken power. I am also going to eat, and therefore my life has changed. Absolutely. It is not your life which has changed, my brother. It should be the life of the nation. And that is why in Cameroon there was an issue where President Pobia, when he came up and we started appointment, there was this issue of the national cake, where when he appoints you, he wants you to give have your own part of the cake and take to your village. And that was the issue where we had issues of homecoming. When the minister was appointed, he needed to do homecoming. Absolutely. And now he says, okay, now we have had our own cake. Let us go back now and celebrate. And I keep on telling them, saying that politics, when you are appointed minister, you are not appointed minister for your village. The minister of transport is not a minister of a particular village, not a minister from Buddha. The minister of this is not a minister of a village. He's a minister of Cameroon. You are appointed to serve Cameroon. Today we are talking about the imperative mandate in Cameroon about the parliamentarians. Sure. And we are saying that a parliamentarian is supposed to be like a roving ambassador. He's a parliamentarian for the whole nation.
Absolutely.
He's not a parliamentarian for a particular village. It means that what? A parliamentarian who seeks to condemn an issue in Cameroon doesn't only condemn what is happening in his own tribe. He condemns what is wrong in the whole of Cameroon, because he is elected for the nation. So this is what we are talking about. So those politicians who take power and then they begin to think that they will kind of flex Moses with those who took before them, it is wrong. And this is the very thing that we're happy is happening now. And I'm afraid that we will have this same situation in October. That we have seen people already positioning. Yeah. You see, these ones are resigning and cheating over to this way, and this one now you already find a list of the EEs or whatsoever who are already closing ranks and saying that okay, they are also building on their bargaining power. And these ones are already. I was also already contacted for the Anglophones. I was contacted that we need to form our own Anglophone bloc and have our own bargaining power. I was contacted, but I asked myself,
it's not a good strategy for the country.
It is not. It is not, of course, because tomorrow, when you get power, when power is gained, it means that you want to deal with the individual, don't deal with the country.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is what happens. Because when you get into this kind of politics, it's not inclusive.
It is not.
It is a politics where, that's the very thing that will repeat. You want to get some few people, and that is what Karl Marx, I like him so much, in his Marxism. Yeah. He says that with the bourgeoisie, because the bourgeoisie are just a very chunk of people who take hold of power, economic power, and then they begin to enjoy themselves, and with all the, take their gazelles and all of those, and they go up and down with them. Yeah. And that the majority, whom we call the proletariats, they are there, and when the time comes for them to rise and take over the bourgeoisie, they should do it because it is their right.
It is their right.
It is their right. Why should few individuals think that they have to take power and consolidate it and then lord it over all the other people in the country? And then you are there at the level of solidarity, other authority, other person level of solidarity, Clarice. It is not normal. That is what quote Francois Bayard about la politique du bank, the belly politics which we have to denounce. Can you imagine one person investing 50 billion francs? That you will leave your children, you will leave children in the fourth, fifth, 10th generation just because you just want to be, I mean, you are preempting what? What are you preempting? That tomorrow, or that you think that that money would? I was looking at the way Buhari was buried yesterday, in a very, very well, as if that was the whole president of the nation. And people should learn about the life lesson that there is no way to keep amassing wealth until you really don't know. I mean, I call them misers, you know.
Today we have Mandela Day, we
exactly.
Even
so in Cameroon we have what I call misers. Yeah. Misers are those who look at money and they are just happy. Even if it's not of no use to them. They just look at it and they are just glad. Those are misers. That's what we have in Cameroon. We need money for political, for developmental issues. In Europe advances because we draw projects for 50 years. But in Africa and Cameroon in particular, people draw projects for 1 week because they are looking at the immediate. Somebody wants to plant and harvest before he dies. If he knows that you put down a tree and that tree will grow and he's dead, he doesn't put it down.
And of course,
that is what is happening. It's the politics of the stomach. It boils down to that. And it's a tactic that people use in order to embed.
I don't know if we should say probably one of the lapses of the opposition, because it's not today that the opposition should be conversing, crisscrossing across the country.
It is the same thing. I said about this area, Clarice, that it is not in 6 months that the opposition should be crisscrossing the country and trying to create impression. Usually this time is a time of just sitting down, making merry, taking your bottle of fine wine and taking and saying, you beat your chest.
Is already
yes, I was a good servant. I did my job. It is now the electorate, the population, the citizens who are supposed to speak for you. Now the campaign is supposed to be within the grassroots population. None more will you going up and down and spending sleepless nights. It is the same thing.
And we must have seen actually what the opposition has put in place to ensure.
That is
because I think we need some sort of a renaissance of the consciousness in Cameroon.
And that's what we are about to advocate for the Third Republic in Cameroon. This is going to happen. And I keep on assuring people, the Third Republic will make Cameroon great again. Let me borrow from Donald Trump. It will make Cameroon great. For somebody to do 2 mandates in Cameroon, the Third Republic, let me tell you, that person must be Jesus sent.
No, Cameroon must be great because it's a nation that is blessed, endowed with both resources, the human capital.
We do not deserve this suffering.
So
we don't deserve this suffering.
There is need for Cameroon to define, and of course, with this question, let's look at how the polarized internal politics in Cameroon has even affected its international standing. Because I believe, according to some pundits as well, when you master international politics, you can internalize it or contextualize it and position yourself strategically, diplomatically for the good of your country.
Let me tell you that Cameroon is one of those countries that has brought about even corruption in an international level.
Let's understand better.
Yes, because you realize that most internationally, most people have the phobia for Cameroonians because of the records that we have. And what they do is that there is a lot of clientelism in getting international posts. For those who do not know, in Cameroon they lobby, and you know how the lobbying is done? The lobbying is done with pure money. Cameroon, there are people who are so deep into lobbying. Well, I want to use the word the Americans they use, because in Cameroon or in Africa we use corruption, but in America they use lobbying. Yeah, those are the same words.
Yes, the same words.
Then people not think that when they say you in America, people not think that there's no corruption in America. It's just because they have a different name. They have lobbying, and in Africa we have corruption. So Cameroonians in an international level, they use a lot of lobbying, and they do a lot of lobbying to get to where they are, and they can get to their desired level when they want. You listen to Thabo Mbeki lately speak about the crisis in the Anglophone region. And many people listen, and maybe they didn't make out the lesson out of it and to know exactly what Cameroon is. Thabo Mbeki said it very well. We had the intentions as past president to help fix the problems in the crisis in Cameroon, but he was shocked that one of the diplomats from the African Union was sent to Cameroon and was sprayed a red carpet to cross on. And when he was coming to fix the problem in Cameroon, when he was sprayed the red carpet, said, when he saw that, he just told himself, this mission is failed. This is the kind of politics that we play in Cameroon. When that gentleman came to Cameroon, he was actually taken into the seventh level of his life. And he said, but do I miss my opportunity to go lobbying for some nonsense? And that is why he had to give in. This is the kind of ways in which Cameroonians they do, and they lobby and they do their things, and people think that they are so excellent. I mean, I know that, as I said, Cameroonians are intelligent, but then a lot of issues have kept us back. How do you imagine that? I mean, you have a sport complex that is being now going for double the price that was originally budgeted for. Yes. How do you imagine that the double carriage Douala Yaoundé route, it is not even up to 40% done, but the amount, the original budget is almost already going over, and they have not reached anywhere. How do you imagine the money that meant for health care for Cameroonians? Few individuals embezzle. I'm talking about the COVID gate. How do you imagine that money for routes, is budgeted, and people come and put mud on the way, and knowing that they want to take the same contract after 1, 2, 3 months? It is bad. It is really bad. And that is why when you look at the internal politics in Cameroon, and why is this like this? Let me review now the second point. Yeah. It is because Cameroon is ruled by sects. Cameroon is ruled by sects. They are the sect that dictate what you do. And who are you to come and say that you are a technocrat, that you want to fix this? They tell you, no, this is the way we function, and this is what you should do. And it goes to the same theory, the same governance of saying that you envelope people, you catch like a fowl, uproot of its feathers, render it merciless, and then chew it down, and then chew corn, and then you expect the fowl to thank you. This is what happened during elections. Cameroonians have been rendered miserable. They have been rendered wretched. There is hunger. There is poverty. And then during election, you come with a mega 2,000 francs or a cube of soup. You give them. And then they turn and say thank you. And what happens? The result is another 7 years of misery.
So it means that all the stakeholders, probably from those in the suburbs right up to probably the intellectuals or those who hold power, we have a lot to do. We have each and every one of us. Even the media. I want the media to reiterate here that I think this change, the media, if the media can champion change by probably redefining the narratives, setting the right agenda for the country, it will certainly and probably practically and ensure also a sustainable solution to the political fabric.
Yeah, you talk about the media, and I must say that it is one of the things that I cannot go without talking about, because I live the media almost every week. Of course, sometimes I think I feel that I'm even a journalist myself, because the media by affiliation anyway. The media is like the third power in the country, and what you see happens, like look at what will happen during elections. People, either because of the way the medias are given their authorization, they do not have the free will or the free speech. And what happens is that you report what the politician asks you to do without, actually judging to see whether this report makes meaning to the electorate, makes meaning to the people or not. What people go for is for the money. And look at the media is not allowed to report against maybe government actions. It should. And that gives you the reason why many people don't even know that medias are not fully authorized in Cameroon. You don't pay the full amount of the media to open a media in Cameroon. That's why many people do not know. And it's not, you don't. Nobody pays the full amount to open a media in Cameroon. That's what Cameroonians need to do. You are only given to pay a token for maybe formality and whatsoever. The real amount you don't pay. And it is for a reason. It's to say that when the government wants to track you down and close you down, they don't ask you questions.
I don't know. Let's try to understand this, because like I reiterated or I said during the start of this program, that the platform Global Insight is not here to incite, but yet to actually share ideas, opinion, and constructive or insightful analysis plus data that can help redefine the trajectory of our country, Cameroon, and why not the African continent. So by so doing, are we by any chance violating? Because I think that if we set the right agenda, bring the right facts, it will help even the government or even the African continent as a whole to know how to probably set the agenda of the country that will lead to sustainable development. And by so doing, we solve all of these problems, which are also external, while trying to solve the internal problems of lack of transparency, accountability, governance structure, and what have you.
Clarisse, who cares? Sometimes, who cares really? Sometimes I want to ask this question. You know, the media and civil societies, most governments, most in Africa, let me put it generally,
Sure.
which are dictatorial government, use the media and civil society, want to use them as watchdogs. And let me ask this rhetorical question. Can a dog protect its master and at the same time bite him? The answer is no. Because everything that is authorized in dictatorial government is to favor the dictator. The dictator doesn't know anything about fixing.
Mm-hmm.
The dictator knows about ruling. That is all that comes to the mind of a dictator. When he goes to sleep, when he gets up in the morning, he knows about power, how to exert power. He doesn't know about you coming to tell him that this is the way to follow to exert power. Yes, we are talking about democracy. On democracy as prescribed by who? Even in Greece, the democracy is not even lived again the way it was formulated. It is lived differently in different countries. And we have said it here since the start of this program, that even in the most democratic country, people want to consolidate power. People want to live in power on and on and on. This is one of the human weaknesses, that when you are at a position of authority, you want to always lord it over the solidarity. You just want to be the God and the Lord at all times. This is the temptation that we have. And this is the temptation that most governments, especially in Africa, they have. They care less about the suffering masses. And I gave an example. Do you really think that somebody cares about the masses and then he embezzles 50 billion francs? And do you really think that somebody cares about the masses and he builds a house of 1 billion, 2, 3 billion francs, whereby the surrounding is made up of really poor masses? Do you really care about the fact that somebody will care about the masses and then the roots, you are in charge of roots and you do not construct the root? You are in charge of, doing something economically for the people and you don't do. And is this really care? It is because people think that there is this policy of all for me and none for you. No. And that is the brainchild of capitalism.
Absolutely.
It's the brainchild of capitalism because, like someone said, if you really want to live in a democratic country, per se, you must live with social communism. Yes, you must live in social communism. And you cannot live with social communism if you keep things like religion and you keep capitalism alive. If you want to live in social communism, you must break away with this, from these things. This is some of the realities we can come to, but they are very difficult to come by. It takes really people who are like pelicans. You know, I used to use this bird pelican to compare to human beings. That a pelican is that bird that wounds himself to feed his young. Even at the highest point of the dry season, he prefers to die than that the young should die. This is how our leaders are supposed to be.
Absolutely, and that is this question coming to you, MBOFUNG JAVANS. You talked about capitalism and then talked about dictatorship. But then I want us to look at dictatorship from a positive perspective. When we go today to try to understand the politics of the incumbent of the United States of America, Donald Trump, we see he has his mantra, "Make America Great Again." And we see that this is why he has been fighting, especially, the BRICS de-dollarization move, because he doesn't want to see that America loses its position of a superpower. And then we see a leader that is ready to probably fight to ensure that America is great again. Let's come back I want us like to try to see how Cameroonian politicians can be more, you know, patriotic in the way that they will define "Make Cameroon Great Again," without plagiarizing the words of Donald Trump, to ensure that in spite of the challenges that will always be there, but then that the common Cameroonian should not be that susceptible, frustrated, that will probably at one time be so radical, undermining the peace again of a country. So what can we say, and how can we navigate all of this?
Actually, when one talk about maybe making Cameroon great, what aspect are we even going to make Cameroon great in? Because when you look at most of our leaders, most of them don't even know the aspect we are good at. They don't even know the aspect which we can actually sell as our identity. We generalize everything. We look at everything like, oh, we are so good at this. And at the same level, when we are so good at everything, without paying special attention and giving everything or that specific aspect that we know that can sell us the attention it deserves, at the end we'll always be feeble. We'll always be at the same level. So yes, it is very much possible that whosoever is steering the leadership engine of Cameroon can make Cameroon great. But the first thing the person must do is to identify some key aspects of the Cameroonian identity, of the Cameroonian culture, knowing that yes, if we drive this, it will sell the image of Cameroon positively. If the person is able to do that, then the person can make Cameroon great. Don't talk about Ethiopia and the Ethiopian Airlines when he was intervening the other time. I bet you Ethiopia is not a perfect country, but it's a country that when we talk about the aviation industry in Africa, everybody gives it to Ethiopia. So when we come to Cameroon, each and every leader in his or her own domain must know that, okay, this is what I can take maybe to sell the image of my people, and you focus on developing it. Now, if we are doing everything, we are focused in every sector, then we can actually not reflect our identity. In Cameroon, we can decide that, okay, we are taking maybe the health sector to make it to be the most advanced in Africa. We can decide to go into the education sector to make it to be the most advanced. And we know that, okay, we are tilting our resources. By the time we see that it gets to another level, we take another sector and we go with it. If at the end we just want to maybe take all our sectors to be to maybe be living on life support, at the end we cannot be great. We will not be great. We will still have Cameroonians that are moving out of the country to go to different countries. Brain drain, of course, will be so massive that we cannot even manage it as it is now. So obviously, if a leader is coming into power that he or she is hoping to make us great, the leader has to prioritize some sectors. And in doing that in this particular time, you should be telling us Cameroonians that you intend that if to say we give you this opportunity to lead us, you will prioritize this sector. This is what you will be doing in this sector to transform it. You always get many leaders telling us that they are coming in maybe to advance industrialization. Be telling us you are coming into advanced industrialization, and this is how you will be advancing industrialization. If you are telling us that you are coming in to transform the health sector, be telling us what you will be doing. Practical situations you'll be doing in the health sector to transform the health sector. Likewise, in the educational sector, what will you be doing? Who will you be consulting? How will it work? What kind of partnerships will you put in place to ensure that that sector is transformed? That is what a true Cameroonian patriot that have Cameroon at heart understands the problem of Cameroon and is ready to save the people of Cameroon should be telling the people of Cameroon. You can't come to tell us now that, okay, you construct roads or maybe you develop the agricultural sector vaguely. No, you should tell us so that we can, in our own respective capacity, analyze if what you are telling us makes sense. Analyze if what you are telling us can be realized. If it is not realizable, you are not the right person for us. That is what we need. We don't need vague promises. Gone are the days of vague promises. We need practical promises with practical steps to realizing them. That is the only way we can make Cameroon great. We should not be surprised that somebody can come and promise us that, okay, he will make Cameroon great without actually telling us, oh, by the time we entrust our country into the hands of the person starts telling us that he never knew that this is how difficult it was. When Donald Trump talked about making America great, he assured Americans that the first thing he was going to do was massive deportation. And today he is doing that, irrespective of how it hurts the American people. He is doing that. That is what Americans voted for. So anybody coming or advocating or campaigning, cajoling us to give him votes, should give us metrics we will use to analyze him or her when they take the office. We are done with people telling us that this is what they will do, this is what they will do. Meanwhile, they themselves don't even know what is going to happen. Most of our leaders have not done a comparative study to understand the problems that are even promising us to solve. They understand that problems are existing, but they don't even know how to solve it. They feel that we are so stupid, we are so backward, that if they come ahead and just tell us we will solve this problem, we will believe in them. It is normal for a leader to tell us Cameroonian people that he will charge maybe 20,000 kilometers of road within 1 year. No, we don't want them to end that way. They should tell us that this will be charged within 1 year and this is where the money will come from. Don't put us in a condition that when you come in, you are borrowing or maybe you are digging a hole to refill another hole. Meanwhile, we'll have the one you are digging to refill after. No, this is the time that people should be practical with what they are telling us. That is the only way we can make America. We can make Cameroon great. If we fail to do that, then we are just juggling on promises. And by the time we give them the opportunity to lead us, they will tell us that, okay, the previous person maybe was not the best. I tried my best. This is what I inherited. We need a Cameroonian that actually understands what he is applying for, what he will inherit, practical situations to resolving what he is taking, and how to advance with the interest of Cameroon. Not somebody who will come in and start giving us excuses. We have passed the level of excuses.
Indeed, it's about the reawakening of the consciousness, Professor JAVANS. I will stay with you. With your analysis, we want to say that stakeholders, be it ELECAM, be it lawmakers, be it Cameroonians, everybody, especially civil society, there is need to be more intentional, more engaged, to see probably that there is sustainability, because sometimes we speak superficially, but the real stakes are when you have the power. Sometimes the stakes are so diplomatic, strategically, that maneuvering it becomes so problematic, and then we want to give reason to the party at the helm. So what message probably for all of these actors, the electoral body, probably ELECAM, electorate, and each and every Cameroonian so intentional about seeing change? We saw how the young people were engaged in Kenya, and they're still very engaged, trying to question those in power about some of the decisions which they take that automatically probably transcends into some negative ramifications for them.
Before I get to the stakeholders, there is one thing I want to highlight, which I've noticed in the field. The biggest problem Cameroonians we face is the fact that we as Cameroonians, we don't know the responsibilities of our elected officials. That's the biggest problem in this country. If you ask a Cameroonian on the street, what is the responsibility of a mayor? He or she might likely not know. If you ask the basic responsibility, the constitutional responsibility of a parliamentarian, many don't know. Not to talk of that of a senator, not to talk of that of the chief commander, or even the members of government. Many Cameroonians don't know. It is the responsibility of us as Cameroonians to know that we are voting this person to protect our interests like this. This is the definition of the jobs that this particular office have to execute before we even cast our vote. Because many people don't even know why they are voting for somebody. Most of these stakeholders that are occupying positions that we are counting on them, they take advantage of Cameroonians because they know that Cameroonians don't even know what they are supposed to do to them. So they know you will not question them. They know the only thing they are doing there is to be there, wait for maybe 5 years, 7 years, come to you, give you maybe a bottle of drink, and not convince you, you still cast them their vote. You will not have metrics to analyze if they did their job or not. If they actually understand that Cameroonians know what they are voting them to do, they know that, okay, if within the mandate you trust them with, they don't deliver, when they come to you, you ask them clear questions. So each and every Cameroonian must, first of all, master the responsibility of councillors, mayors, parliamentarians, senators, the office of the president, and even the members of the government that the president appoints in his cabinet, so that they can be able to question them based on their job description, not on what they give to them. Onto that, after that, if we are looking at what the stakeholders should do, first to the election managing body, which is ELECAM. When Cameroonians cast a vote, if a Cameroonian is coming out to cast a vote, it's first because the Cameroonian trusts in the process. They trust in the process, they trust that you will deliver. So give them the confidence, retain the confidence they have given to you. Make sure their votes reflect. We Cameroonians don't vote because we believe that our candidate must win. We vote because we believe that our vote must count. So even if our candidate has 10 votes that is reflective of what we voted, we are contented with it. So there should be no problem with you giving us what we have voted. And the only way we can be sure that you have given us what we have voted is when you give us the opportunity to follow up, monitor our election, monitor the results. The same results you are publishing should maybe the same results we close our polls with, because we have the right to be at the polls till you count. We have the right to go home with the temporary results from our polls. When it comes out and we see that there is difference, there is a big problem. We will not trust you. If we have trust you, give us that benefit of doubt so that we can sustain it. To the stakeholders, if you are a lawmaker, we have voted you to be a lawmaker. We want to see that you at least propose this law that reflected our basic line, and maybe it was not voted. If we want to question you, what did you do to protect our interests? And you are telling us that, okay, maybe you passed this law, you passed this bill, and it was not voted. We will understand that at least you had our interests at hand. We should not just vote for you, and then you sit and you wait and you come back. If you are a mayor, we want to see that all mayors live the day-to-day life of their people. We want to see that they address the basic problems that faces their people within the jurisdiction of the municipality. It should not be a situation that we vote for you, you go, you sit down, you wait over the years, you come back to us only when you believe that you want to get our votes. We want to see you in the field because you live our lives. So each and every person should take his job seriously. The process of an election is not like we are just entrusting the most superior people in the community to lead us. No. It is a position they are applying for, and we are giving them the opportunity to save us. So each and every person that takes a position in Cameroon should be a servant leader. It should not be somebody who will trample upon the electorate. It should not work like that. And the basic way is for every Cameroonian, if you have registered, you have your voter's card, before you go and vote for somebody, go on Google, look for documents, find out the responsibilities of that office you are voting for. Because if you don't know the responsibilities of the person you are voting for, you will definitely vote the wrong person. And when we have given you that opportunity, you should be able to save us based on what we had in mind. In fact, I believe in 2025, when any Cameroonian is listening to a politician, have your diary. When they give you a promise, jot it down. So that in the future you'll be able to ask them, on this day, this is what you said. What have you done that you are asking for more? We should keep ancient politics aside, and we should actually be active in building our country. Everybody can do whatever they think they want to do because they know they will not be questioned. That is not the way Cameroon, that's not the way forward for Cameroon. So we should actually be conscious of the people we are voting, and we should know why we are voting them in. Hopefully, the electoral body will give us what we have requested for.
Indeed, giving us what we have requested for, and you said earlier, Dr. NDIMANCHO, that there is always hope for change. And since we still have some Cameroonians who are very pessimistic about this change, but then we cannot actually close the discourse. There is need to continue to educate Cameroonians, to widen the horizon for them to understand the stakes of the country and why they need to do the right thing to be able to ensure sustainability in whatever thing, you know. Some of the loopholes of the present or the incumbent government have made it in such a way that the successes recorded by him have been overshadowed, and I would love that probably you throw more light on some of the successes, that if the government had to follow in that direction, they will actually not bring Cameroon to a state where there is some sort of radical or probably aggressive politics this time.
Yeah, let me first of all start by the issue of the education of the electorate. Just as I engage the political leaders, I'm interested, maybe of interest to you to know too that I wrote extensively to sensitize the electorate. There is also a famous letter I wrote, a letter to the electorates in Cameroon.
In Cameroon.
Yes, that's right. I did that just to say that really the education has gone really wide, far and wide this time around. And we really think that if there are some Cameroonians who didn't register, because registration, they have closed the registers.
Sure.
It's really because they vehemently and premeditatedly refused to register. And of course, when you refuse to decide, others decide for you. That's how it is in politics. You ask about some of the things that the incumbent government has done that, well, were on good. Well, something cannot be totally bleak back, I must say. You see, the intention, just the intention itself is good, When you have good intentions, they know that something can happen. When this government came up in 1982, there was this song of rigor and moralization.
Rigor and moralization.
Do you know what that brought to Cameroonians? Rigor and moralization. I remember even songs were formulated in the issue of rigor and moralization. Where the people started singing "Freedom is coming," and it was something. The issue of the Green Revolution. You know about that? The Green Revolution in the 1980s.
In the 1980s.
Where even when we were, in primary school, there was this issue of songs came up with students singing during the national days, and everybody is saying, okay, we have had a leader that we have the who, we need the who and the cutlass now to go into the farms and start working, because there was a lot of hope there in the horizon. Yes, rigor, especially when we're coming from that. People consider it that period, for those who lived during the period of ACHU, they said it was a period of dictatorship, and they didn't even know that we were getting into much more dictatorship than then. But people thought with the rigor, when the promises were that now we are going to stand firm in the state affairs with the economic crisis that was, we are going to solve the issue of the economic crisis, and what the former president left, we are going to uplift Cameroonian, and we were going to live like in an El Dorado, as we mentioned here. Moralization, can you imagine that? That at that point when Cameroon was going to be outstanding and only closer, and maybe if not more than to even a purgatory and closer to heaven, where Cameroon was going to stand out. You find that intention was actually there.
Yeah.
And another thing that you really think that from the mindset and all of those, I would really think that some intentions are expressed are good, even if they were expressed just for their sake. I mean, they have become mirages, you know. We think that you are seeing something, you are not seeing it. Actually, it's not there. Because when you look at in terms of education, where when this government came, we had only 2 universities in Cameroon.
Sure.
And I mean, there was an increase of the number of state universities. That was a good intention. To me, it remains an intention because I don't still consider the increase of universities as anything. I teach at the university.
Yeah.
And when you look at creating universities without real buildings, without facilities, without real teachers, it's a problem. You don't create a university like when you go to University of Douala, there is a place they call the Polaye, where you know Polaye is where they keep files and all of those things. You don't have where students can learn. It means that that creation is just, I mean, in the mind. You don't opening of schools, even from the primary to secondary, has become too political. Where you have many schools created with no buildings and no teachers, even at the level of the primary school.
Should we blame the head of state for this? Because I quite remember, let me take us, sorry to interject, to probably Zimbabwe. History actually recalls that when Mugabe was the president, anytime he probably decrees for some sort of projects to be made, he will probably disguise and visit the area to ensure that what he actually instructed is what is being there. Can we now probably link the fault not just to the head of state, but then the stakeholders, or probably close collaborators working with the head of state to ensure that there is no mimicry or some sort of greenwashing or camouflage as far as leading to the realization of projects set by the head of state?
No, Clarisse, I would say no. The head goes for all of those things.
Okay.
Because when you come to make maybe inventory or to carry out statistics of what has been done, you're not going to be asking your collaborator. It's the person who created it that needs to answer for these things. When he came and talked about the ring road in Bamenda, do you know how many years that is? Do you want your collaborators to go doing the ring road? When you yourself, you think he doesn't know that that ring road is not in effect? He knows. Look at the Olembe. It's at the nose of the presidency. The Olembe there. Doesn't he know that Olembe is not completed up to today? So I think that, I mean, the person who pronounces it as a leader has to assume.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't need to go. And what we have realized, especially in countries in Africa and Cameroon especially, is that when something is good, if they say it's the president of the republic who has done it. When it goes bad, it is the minister who made a mistake. So these are some of the issues that have gone really bad in our governance in Cameroon. Look at, I mean, in terms of the economic crisis, prices of goods and services. We have not had a day where prices are actually getting down to the level of the people. We are only getting up each morning to hear about the increment of prices. You know, it is a problem. And then you begin to ask yourself, whether somebody was sent on a mission, whether that issue of rigor and moralization, or that issue of, I mean, a celebrated somebody in 1982 that came was actually, the person was on mission to actually bring Cameroon to that situation, to a Maya, where escape is chimerical today. Because where Cameroon is today, let me tell you, if you bring Barack Obama in Cameroon, well, it's not even it's not even my, yes. If you bring the really, raising somebody close to Jesus, he will take a lot of time to die again on the cross before Cameroon is resurrected. So it's just to say that we have a long way to go. Absolutely. Because we have people with bad intention in this Cameroon who came with a mission to actually put Cameroon into the doldrum.
And of course, we will continue to educate Cameroonians.
That is it. It doesn't mean that all is lost. Yeah. And that's what we are saying, that we need, because we need to start from somewhere again.
Indeed.
Yeah, when you fall, you get up. all is not lost. We have had countries that have been deeper and in the problems more than us.
You know, Rwanda.
Yeah, Rwanda, of course, in 1993, 94, 95, we didn't know that Rwanda would get up. But it is an Eldorado in Africa today. And we have to look at Burkina Faso.
Niger.
I mean, can you remember when you just called the name Burkina Faso, now everybody wants to be there. I've got friends who say that they see now that the economic strength in Burkina Faso is rising and they want to go and invest there. We have countries like that. So I think that there is always a time for anything, and that the next leader who comes, let that leader be a pelican. Because if a leader comes and he's a pelican, Cameroon will get up again. Cameroon will rise. That is it. So I'm saying that there were some intentions which are good, but those intentions were only being played to a gallery. And maybe those intentions were just there for people to position themselves and then to amass the wealth for themselves. Most of them are not Cameroonians. I wrote on Facebook and I said most of them are foreigners. Because when you start here to tomorrow, all of them, they are going to pack up.
And that is where the problem is. Then it brings us to, of course, we are above time. Just concluding a phase still on the stakes of these elections, and probably what message we can give to potential voters, lawmakers, and everybody. Just 1 minute, please.
Yes, what I can really say is that those who are going for election, let them be honest. What we want, and usually, personally, what I did when I was talking to opposition parties, I was saying that don't mind if you do not win the presidential election, but be engaged. Because elections are prepared well on ahead. If you engage well, know that in the next coming election, you will get the vote. Imagine people like Kabaribu who came up. Kabaribu has parliamentarians, about 5 of them, because he did well in the 2018 presidential elections. And that if you engage well, people even think the presidential election, yes, is the first election and the more important in a country, but I look at the local election and the municipal and legislative to be the start point. Mr. MBOFUNG talked about the election in South Africa parliamentary, and he talked about what Joshua Osei said. I talked with Joshua Osei. Joshua Osei might have been talking about the goal, or, you know, the principle of the SDF, because they are going for a parliamentary system of governance. Yeah, that's what the SDF stands for, a parliamentary system of governance. And he says that if he wins election, this is the kind of system that we are going to take. And I'm sure that is what they are fighting for. Imagine that the opposition in the 2026 next year, they are able to have 150 out of 180 parliamentarians in the National Assembly. A lot of things will happen in Cameroon, and that will start happening at that time. So my message is for the electorate is go out on the 25th and vote for your favorite leader. For the opposition leader, please do not disappoint the electorate. Let there be no black legs. Let there be no people who come up just because they want to play to the gallery. And that you should know that elections is not just something of 1 year. You can prepare your way on for the next coming year. Absolutely.
If actually the agenda of the nation is what we are aiming at, to conclude with you, MBOFUNG JAVANS, let's see what's the way forward as we continue to probably see how politicians, candidates continue to crisscross across the nation, even out of the country, to, you know, sell out manifestos, ideologies ahead of the October 12, 2025 elections. Okay, we've just been informed that we lost JAVANS. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you immensely, especially to you, Dr. Michael NDIMANCHO, for the great insight pertaining our topic for discussions, which I think it is very vital to understand the real stakes of the nation Cameroon, to understand so that it can shape the trajectory, the political fabric of the country, to ensure that new dawn, practical new dawn, and of course a sustainable new dawn after the October 12, 2025 elections. To note that Dr. NDIMANCHO is a researcher, and we also acknowledge the presence of the vibrant Cameroonian MBOFUNG JAVANS, who is a critical thinker, entrepreneur, and the founder of Legacy Holdings, for the great engagement and insight pertaining our discussions this year. We apologize for the fact that the other panelists could not join us. Reasons beyond control. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Just to reiterate, the objective of Global Insight to ensure that we engage in insightful and thought-provoking discourses or analysis that will help widen the horizon, give us the scope for better integration in the society, and especially at the international level, to be able to meet particularly Africa's Agenda 2063. Thank you so much, and applauding also the technical crew for giving us this opportunity to have a smoother program. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for trusting this platform. Do have a lovely time in the company of our transmissions. Bye-bye.